this kind of happened. The same sort of thing happened last year. We were talking about it prior to the show where, these teams are waiting for certain players to sign so the bar can be set as to where, or what they want to pay some of these other receivers.
Not where Tim Balky said it.
Yeah, and not where Christian Kirk has the bar set. They want something more realistic. So I think that we could end up seeing something over the next few days. But yes,
Shane, what are you so upset about? You look angry, like very angry.
No. I just
look. Caused you personal distress.
I got a lot of Trevor Lawrence, right? And this isn't the shit I needed. I didn't need like Christian Kirk. I was like, all right, it's an overpay, but it's a good start. And maybe they'll draft a legitimate wide receiver 1 in the draft. And I didn't know how they were going to go about that because they drafted 1 and then 33 or whatever. So I don't know. Like they shouldn't have drafted a wide receiver. But I thought maybe they do some stuff and maybe end up with like Traylon Burks or Drake London or Garrett Wilson. And they were like, no. Check this out. Guess who's getting Zay Jones? And that really? Like, yeah, and Evan Engram. I'm like,
the funny thing is they paid more for Zay than they did if they would have just kept Chark. Like it's the same annual value, but with extra years. It's just ridiculous.
Jacksonville as a city hates DJ Chark. Like that wasn't just an Urban Meyer thing. Like they just clearly did not want him there anymore.
Yeah, that was
maybe CJ Golson was right. They were trying to trade him to Baltimore.
This isn't a this year thing though with the cons. Like since the last decade, no one spent more free agent money than the Jaguars have.
It's been about $230 million before the Raheem Mostert contract,
and with no return basically in the last decade on that. Their best players have all been basically their own draft picks.
Yeah, what was it? I think it was Warren Sharp had an article on Roto World /Edge, whatever the hell it's called now. It will always be Roto World.
It'll always be Roto World.
Yeah, talking about like the teams that have spent the most in free agency, and they're always bad. They're just always bad. The following year, the next year, because they're always because it's just the wrong way to go about it. Like you're getting someone's reject. Like as much as I'm excited that the Eagles got to sign Hassan Reddick. Sorry for the IDP defensive talk, guys. Clearly though, if Arizona really wanted him, they would have held on to him, and that's the truth in most cases, unless your quarterback is, a criminal that's forcing his way out of town.
Oh God, no, and that's kind of the crazy part that you see a lot of these teams do is like they end up overpaying for players to come to their organization in hopes that they'll slightly improve to become a sexier destination over the next 2 years. We saw it with the Browns back when they first took over with who was the GM at the time that ended up overpaying for. It might have been where he got a ton of draft picks, ended up overpaying.
Oh, that was John Dorsey.
Yeah, that wasn't Sashi.
It was John Dorsey.
Yeah, Sashi was the spiritual successor to Sam Hinkie in the process, and I'm still mad that Sashi wasn't allowed to let that play out. But anyway.
Yeah, so this is where we kind of
people hated Sashi here, man. They hated him. Oh my god!
I love Sam Hinkie so much.
Sam Hinkie was hated so badly here, and I look at the team now, and I'm like, hey guys, you got Joel Embiid and James Harden. You know why you have those two? Because of the fucking process, you fucking dipshits.
Every time I went to my father-in-law's house, he was like, "Oh, when they just can't get a football guy to run the team?" And every time.
Hopefully, never.
So let's go ahead and hop into the show. And I didn't know where else to start because everything is kind of all over the place outside of the Jaguars. So let's kick off this show with a little game. FMK. We're going to fuck, marry, kill Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Evan Engram. So out of these players, including the contracts, the money they got, but mainly for fantasy football, which one are we fucking, which one are we marrying, and which one are we killing? We'll start it with Shane down there.
All right, I'm going to marry Christian Kirk because if I'm going to fuck someone, I want it to be Evan Engram because I think it's going to be quick and it could be exciting, but it's not going to last. It's not. You know what I mean? Christian Kirk, I feel like it's not going to be stupendous. You know what I mean? It's going to be like 980 yards. Oh, 1,020. Oh, there's 1,100 yards back to 900. Like it's reliable. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you're telling me that it's kind of like a Marvin Jones, type role essentially.
Well, yeah, except maybe more consistent. I think it'll be more consistent. And then I'll just kill Zay Jones because what the fuck? Come on, no, just what a waste.
Shane is on one today. Jakob, where are you sitting over here?
Well, I'm marrying Christian Kirk because he has financial security. I mean, like, if I'm marrying someone, I want to marry the $84 million man. Like, think of the life we'll lead. I live in Vancouver. Like, I don't know if anyone's checked the housing market out here, but it is wild. Like, it costs approximately like $500K for a Domino's pizza box to be able to shield your head in Vancouver. So I need to have my priorities in check. And so I'm going to marry Christian Kirk, who will put a roof over my head, who will put food in my tummy, who will show me good loving. And then beyond that, like, I'm going to fuck Zay Jones. Like, his demons are well reported. I think he's into some wild shit. And then Evan Engram, like, I'll kill Evan Engram. I think at this point, like, he needs some. He's on a redemption path right now, and I think what he needs is really to humble himself rather than just cheap sex on a fantasy podcast.
Oh, that makes perfect sense, and I couldn't agree with that last comment there. Rich, where are you sitting, bud?
I don't know how I can even follow up that slew of analogies from there, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna marry Christian Kirk. It's not exciting on any level. We've got you look at Christian Kirk and just kind of he's kind of told us who he is over his career. We've played 4 years in the NFL already. He's the guy that struggles to get open against man coverage. He's fine. Like, you put him in the slot, you get him free releases. He can be kind of a vertical seam guy, but like, he's not going to carry an offense. We saw last year, DeAndre Hopkins got hurt. He had to be the focal point of the passing game, and what happened? A lot of people keep bringing up that, Kyler was playing hurt. Kyler had an injured ankle, came back and ran for 60 yards a game. Kyler was hurt because he was leading an offense that was forced to be generated passing production through a slot guy that can't beat man coverage and a catch and fall tight end. That's where Kyler Murray was hurt, at the end of the season. So, I think it's really tough to ask him to kind of just be like a lead guy for Trevor Lawrence. It's a real bummer for Trevor Lawrence. I saw a lot of people are excited about these moves the Jaguars are making for Trevor Lawrence, but he still doesn't have an alpha. They've just got, it's like an island of misfit toys, right? Like, he's King Moonracer right now, just collecting like stuff from everybody right now and just he's gonna have to try to make it work. And I don't know, if he really can, so we'll see what happens.
You have to love that they looked at the Cardinals offense at the end of last year, where their only people that they threw to was a mid-level tight end in Christian Kirk, and they were like, let's sign a mid-level tight end in Christian Kirk, because that offense, we want to implement it.
Why are you guys just discounting Antoine Wesley, first of all?
That's Zay Jones. That's Zay Jones.
So I feel like what they did was they saw Urban Meyer, right? And they're like, oh, he built throughout the outside. He tried to build with, speed up the field. And they were like, hey, we need to do the exact opposite of what Urban Meyer did. But I think people forget about the Doug Peterson offense, right? Like, he tries to run these 2 tight end sets. He tries to run things close to the line of scrimmage. So for that reason, and I don't think I've ever said this in my entire life, I want to marry Evan Engram. Evan Engram should be a focal point of this offense. All he has to do is actually catch the ball, because he can create separation, but he never actually got targets because the quarterbacks never trusted him to catch the ball because he had so many drops year after year after year. So I'm actually going to marry Evan Engram. I think I'm going to kill Christian Kirk because I think that his ADP is going to go through the roof, and I'm not going to have any shares of him at where he's going to go. So, whether or not he's the alpha on that team, I don't think that he's an alpha, but whether or not he is the actual number one on that team, or whether they draft a guy to be that dude, I still don't want anything to do with him. And then I'll go ahead and fuck Zay Jones because, he seems like a fun fuck if he can get his shit together. It seems like he might not have done that early in his career, but it's like that chick who's, kind of ugly in middle school, but gets super hot, in high school. That's the way.
Hey. Just because you're good looking, all right? And,
You guys know exactly what I'm talking about.
What role is Kirk? Like, has Peterson ever had a player like? Is this his like Nelson Aguilar? Because Kirk is kind of like a weird player. Like, he's a slot receiver, but he's not really a lateral receiver. Like, he's a speed slot receiver.
Yeah.
And they kind of did have that in Philly. Like, Aguilar was kind of that guy when he played out of the slot. Like, is that
There's Bryce Treggs? Bryce Treggs. You remember Bryce Treggs, don't you?
Who's Bryce Treggs?
No. All right. It's not.
All right, so
I do like ETN, Dave. That's like the one guy in this offense that interests me. And
I love ETN too. I think ETN's probably going to end up being the leading wide receiver on that team.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Now,